Hey guys, it's Lady Fuller here. You just share this to the group. So please write in the chat where you're coming in from and your name. And today we're talking about being late. So I'm Lady Fuller and I am a habits coach, and I work with folks who are trying to drop a bad habit, replace it with a healthier habit in order to feel happier. And since 96% of what we do every day is habitual and coming from our subconscious, it's super important for us to recognize the habits that aren't serving us so that we can change them around and, have a happier life by making sure our habits are serving us. And so, I've talked so far, if you joined me for the other Monday Night Lives, I talked about drinking as a bad habit. I talked about snoozing as a bad habit. I talked about gratitude as a good habit, and hydration as a good habit, and kindness as a good habit. And every week we'll go back and forth talking about a good habit and a bad habit. And specifically lateness is something I wanted to cover, because when I ask friends and family, like, what habit do you really think is a bad habit? I get sort of all across the board, right? But why is being late a bad habit? So like, we all know someone who's super late always, right? And the thing about being late is that, well, first of all, if anyone's watching that I've been late for, I'm sorry. I have a bad habit of sometimes being late. So, but especially for service provider type things. So it's a terrible thing, because, no matter how smart you are or together you are or organized you are, if you're late, you totally disqualify all of those attributes, right? Like, you can be the smartest person at a meeting and have, be the leader and have the most information. But if you arrive late and harried, you actually have the least amount of power. So showing up on time is important for so many reasons. And I'm going to talk to you guys about those, as well as like some 5 steps to actually be on time. And because a lot of us are late and we know we're late and we want to stop being late, but we can't stop being late. And so that's where the frustration comes in, is this sort of like what I call awareness hell, right? Like, it's a bad habit, but you don't know how to fix it. And you keep doing it and it keeps making you unhappy. So, we didn't really think about this topic too much until a couple of years ago. I went on a hike with a girlfriend and I was late. And she said, I hate it when people are late. And I asked her why, tell me more. And she said, because it means that your time's more important than my time. And that like really struck a chord with me, because I hadn't thought about that. I thought I'm just busy and harried, and like we're all busy, and truthfully, everyone's busy. So like, saying you're busy as an excuse is really not an excuse at all. But the idea that, you're valuing your time over others and you're devaluing others' time is disrespectful. And it's also a power play, right? Because you're basically saying like, I'm more important than you, so I can come late to whatever the appointment is, or event or meeting. So, I think one of the things that the positives of being on time are, right? Like, you show the other person that you care. So even just being on time shows that you care. It shows that you respect the person that you're meeting with, or group that you're meeting with. And it ups your game. So like, instead of starting heels back, you're starting sort of leaning into whatever it is, a presentation or meeting or whatever you're trying to get accomplished by meeting with someone else. It's so funny, like when we're late, we don't realize that first thing we say, oftentimes, or at least I say, I was like, I'm so sorry I'm late. And when we say we're super sorry we're late, then of course, now we've just like started open the conversation with an apology. So again, like not showing up as like our full powerful selves, right? So how do you stop being late? Well, there's some really concrete strategies to stop being late. And the first is like a sort of life hack, but you actually would set your set your phone and 5 to 10 minutes earlier for time, and the clock in your car and the clock on your computer. And eventually you might forget that you've done that. And so you start arriving places on time. That's the first strategy. The second strategy is to actually put just, if you use an iCalendar or phone notifications, just putting notifications on, 15 minutes before you have to be somewhere to remind you. A lot of times I'll even do that if I need to remember to like get up and go do something that maybe I don't even necessarily need to be late for because I'm not meeting anyone, but we can get going and get our workday flow and we forget that we, have this on our calendar. So that's the second way. And then the third way is also to like just tell people that you're a late person. I know this sounds weird because we don't want to identify with being late people. But if you tell someone, look, I'm usually a little bit late, could you maybe schedule it for a little bit earlier than I need to be there and not remember or give yourself that window of time, you can actually have the other person help you show up on time by just being honest and accountable that that's something that you're guilty of, right? So another one would be don't overschedule yourself. So one of the things that we're all so crammed and busy, and I don't know about you guys, but in COVID, it seems like everyone is canceling meetings. So I'm almost like overscheduling meetings, knowing that like a portion will have attrition, but we need to leave time between our meetings, like 5 to 10 minutes between phone or Zoom meetings or even appointments in person so that we can get from one place to the other, because it's not possible to finish a Zoom at the top of the hour and then actually be somewhere at that, the next minute. It's just like physically impossible, and we're setting ourselves up for failure before we've even started. So not overstacking your calendar. And then another thing is just being super prepared. So, with my kids, the morning, if you have kids, is like totally insanity. And I'm a single mom. So in the mornings when I have my kids, we get up and it's like this rush to eat breakfast and get out the door. So at night I put out their backpacks and I pack their lunches. And so like, that's just one less thing. And I put out their clothes, they're young. But, for work, you can also, look at your iCal the night before. So do you have an understanding of what your meeting day is like and cancel anything or move anything that doesn't feel important or necessary? And then also set up like anything you need for the next day, clothes or whatever, if you're going to multiple places. And so you're just feeling super prepared. So you're not starting the day at the tone of like being rushed. And then the last thing I'd say is just waking up like 10 minutes earlier. It's amazing if you have just this morning routine, which is something I've talked about a ton with you guys, is morning routines as a habit for happiness. Just waking up 10 minutes earlier can like start your day in a place where, again, like you're being proactive versus like reactive. Hopefully you watched my snooze videos, so you're not snoozing anymore, but you're not hitting snooze 6 times and then running out the door, which harries us. It just makes us feel so rushed and it sets again the tone, like you're late for your first meeting, then you're late for your second, and then you can never kind of get ahead of yourself, right? And so if all of that fails and you're still late, and sometimes, there's things happen, there's a traffic accident or whatever, and we're just late, like we can't help it. Life happens, but it's a great habit to get into of letting someone know 15 minutes before the scheduled appointment that you're going to be late. Just like I'm going to be 15 minutes late or whatever, so they can use that time wisely and they're not waiting on you. And it's this sign of respect. So back to the what. Just remember that being late cuts you down at the knees yourself if if you have all these amazing qualities that you want to bring to the meeting, but you're late, you actually like disqualify yourself in a lot of ways. And it hurts our sort of overall work reputation if we're continually late. I used to have a therapist that I would go to and we would sit in her office and wait for her. And she was late, she wouldn't get her clients out on time. And finally I stopped seeing her because it was so crazy. Thinking that I needed to wait. It was just, it wasn't respectful of my time, that we had this appointment. So, so be on time. And it's just something to think about, right? Like none of us, we're all so busy and frantic, and we all think, most of us think we're the most important person in the room, but there's a lot of other people, and, being on time is a sign of caring, and it's free. And, if you can plan your day right, it actually makes you a ton less stressed And I guess what I want to close with is if we're less stressed, we're more happy. And if we're more happy, we have less anxiety. And so these things are like everybody wants, like they want more time and they want less anxiety and they want less stress. And just being on time is actually like a way to achieve that. So let me know if you guys have any questions before I close. But thanks for joining me. And I'm going to have a drinking detox starting April 25th for 14 days. And I will send out some details in the group. But stay tuned. It's a sort of spring reset cleanse. And yeah, be on time. See you soon. Thanks, guys.